I'm Maggie. Welcome to Experiments in Crafting. Sorry it's been so long since I streamed. It's been a busy couple of months. I've just been working a lot, traveling. I don't know what else I've been doing. It seems like I said last time, it seems like everything comes up on Thursday nights. One of the things that I think I might do to try and stream a little bit more is not to schedule for Thursday night. Well, not to plan on it always being a Thursday night. So if I think that I have something interesting to share with you and it just happens to be Tuesday, rather than waiting for something to come up on Thursday, I should just stream if I'm available. So I'm going to try and schedule them ahead of time so that you get notices and things like that ahead of time. But hopefully that will get me streaming a little bit more if we're just streaming when it's convenient. So I'm not waiting for next Thursday and then something comes up and then next Thursday. So I've been doing a little bit of crocheting. I don't think a ton actually in the last couple of months, but I've got some things to show you. And then tonight, I think what we're going to do is I'm working on a doll and I'm going to be trying to match a character. It's like an anime VTuber character, and she's got blonde hair, and it's got pink tips at the bottom. And so, rather than crocheting on two different colors, which I tried and it didn't work great, I've done it before with the purple-haired doll that I made, and it looked really good, and the blonde was just not working. And so I think, well, I got Rit dye and some tulip spray paint for fabric and some tulip markers for fabric. And so I'm going to try those out and see how they do for Amigurami detail. And so we're going to give those a go and see how it goes. So starting with the doll, I had picked out a bunch of colors. My favorite, like, Caucasian skin tone is still the simplicity in, I think it's Karen's birthday suit is the name of it, or Karen's birthday suit, but it looks really pink in skein form, and then when I work it up, it's just a really good color. So this is the doll, or the start of the doll. I tried for the first time doing some eye detailing with yarn. The little, like, iris colors, I think need to be glued down or something. I'm not quite sure how to do this yet, but the eyelashes and the white seem to have detailed really nicely. And then across the top of her head, these are just all of the ends from the eye colors. So I'm not sure that they're exactly the way I want them yet. So all I did is I took all the ends and I braided them together and pinned them down so that they stayed out of my way. That lets me keep trying on her wig. So this is the start of her wig piece. We're not going to dye this tonight. I've got some chains to dye instead. And then whatever works the best, I'll do to the wig. So tonight's the trial run and see what works best. But you can see there's the little curls, and this is her skirt to start out with. The color palette and everything is sort of determined by following the character model. So, and I'll show that in a little bit, and I can show you what we're targeting. Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight. Val saying good evening. I'm glad to see you guys too. So whoever's watching, welcome. Val, you too. Welcome. Thanks for joining me tonight. I know it's been a long time. So in order to do this doll, I ordered a bunch of colors because you can't quite tell what colors things are online. I ordered a bunch of different colors, and so I tried the Scheepjes Merino Soft for hair, and I thought it was a little too lemony. And so what I settled on was the Soft Fun Banana. So you can see they're pretty close. But this one's just got a little bit more green, and it's a little bit, I don't know. It wasn't right for blonde hair. So this is what I settled on. There's a bunch of different oranges. This character has a lot of orange going on. So I've got, these are all Soft Fun colors, but this is cantaloupe. That's another cantaloupe. Tangerine, pumpkin, and a second pumpkin. So I got 3 different oranges here. Those 3. And then chocolate and color 2491, which apparently doesn't have a name, but is a slightly different brown. And then some peach colors, color 2466, starfish, rose, color 2480. Yep. Snow, color 2516. I don't know why they named some of them and not others. Butterscotch, which is a pretty nice gold. And this is back to the Merino Soft, which I moved over in the pile. So I've got all these different colors. Some of them are working for me. I kind of wish I had something a little bit pinker than this and a little bit less pink than this. Like, I wish there was a shade in between these. But the starfish color is working okay. I just wish it was just a tiny bit more pink, but it's working. This color is not at all the right color for the palette, but I'll use it for something. But yeah, I'm going to clear these off the table. I just wanted to get these shown. Oh, I didn't go through stats on this. So this is Soft Fun. Soft Fun is 60% cotton, 40% acrylic. Comes in 50-gram balls. Like other sheep's yarns, this comes in a bunch of different size balls. Actually, somewhat recently, I got these and opened them on stream. These are the Soft Fun, like, color packs. And these have 25-gram packs, or 25-gram balls in them. So you can get, like, a color sampler. But the ones that I got really weren't the colors that I needed for this project. So, but anyway, this is a 50-gram ball. It's 140 meters. They recommend a 3.5 to 4 millimeter knitting needle or crochet hook, which is an E or an F, maybe all the way up to a G. I think that's an E through a G hook. It's a DK weight yarn. And I think I said it's 60% cotton, 40% acrylic. The dye that we're going to try tonight is okay for cotton, but not for synthetics. So I'm hoping that it'll still take some dye. I'm hoping the 60% cotton will just give it what we need. But we'll see what happens. On the Merino Soft, it's 50% superwash merino wool, 25% microfiber, and 25% acrylic. I have no idea what microfiber is. If I'm being perfectly honest, that's not really a thing. If I had to guess, it's probably polyester, but I don't know. But anyway, it's 50% merino, 25% microfiber, 25% acrylic. 50 grams, 105 meters. They're also calling this a DK weight, but they are recommending a 4 to 5 millimeter crochet hook or knitting needle. And again, this is Merino Soft. It is very, very soft, but it definitely feels a little slippery. That's probably whatever they're calling the microfiber. It's got to either be nylon or polyester. I'm not sure what they're calling microfiber, but that's usually like brushed sheets when you get what do they call those? I'm trying to think of the type of sheet. What are the sheets we don't like? I'm trying to remember. Anyway, those are usually polyester. So maybe they do call them microfiber sheets. But anyway, those are usually polyester. So I'm thinking maybe that's what's in there. Not sure. While I was ordering, so some of the colors I couldn't get in the US, so I ordered most of the yarns from that 2 Unraveled Chicks and a Llama that I ordered from in the past. And then I ordered some of the yarn from Wool Warehouse. It is worth noting that Wool Warehouse beat the domestic shipping by like a week and a half. I know that Wool Warehouse is a large operation or larger operation than a single local yarn store in the US, and I know that US logistics have been a disaster, but I think the shipping was about the same from the UK, and like I said, they beat us by like a week. It came, I think, Royal Mail to DHL, and the other came United States Postal Service. So, anyway, while I was looking on Wool Warehouse, I also was looking for some of these heavy wool roving yarns. I've seen several dolls made that have hair made with this type of yarn. And some of it is crocheted in, some of it is like where you put two strands in and pull it through, but some of it is also needle felted on. And so I was gonna try any of those techniques on a doll. I just thought it might be fun to try something different. So this is Polaris by Drops. It's gigantic. I think this is roughly what you would call pencil roving, about as thick as a pencil. And it's just twisted. There's no plies, no nothing like that. You could pick it apart. You probably could even spin this finer if you were into spinning. But let's see, what are they? It's 100% wool, 100 grams, 36 meters. It's not very many meters. They recommend a 12 millimeter needle or hook, which is a US 17 or O hook. And this is color 5. It doesn't have a name, but yeah, this is called Drops Polaris. So I got 2 balls of that just because it was cheap. And then I also got Drops Snow Unicolor, and this is also 100% wool. It says excellent for felting, and I got it in kind of some colors that I might like to do hair for a doll. So I got this kind of weird blue that I thought might be fun, and then kind of a silvery gray. I thought they might go together. There was one particular doll that I had in mind when I saw this. So this, like I said, is 100% wool. It's almost certainly not super wash, but it's not a very scratchy wool, surprisingly. For as coarse as it is, it's actually pretty pleasant feeling. 50 grams, 50 meters, so this one's a little bit finer. I don't know, I would say probably half the thickness of the other one, though you certainly can puff this up and use it. So it's spun to about there. You can puff this up pretty good if you want to, or like comb it out so that you can do different things with it. So I just wanted to try some and experiment. I don't own anything like this. The closest I have is a bunch of, what is the name of that? Imperial Stock Ranch, but it's plied and twisted. So it wasn't a good fit for this. So anyway, that's the other thing that I got from Wool Warehouse were these kind of roving yarns. I think the Drop Snow was a little bit more expensive, so I only got one of each of those balls just so I could try it out. Okay. One of the other things that I bought since the last time I streamed was, well, actually, I bought this a long time ago. I pre-ordered it after getting the other one. I'm going to turn and grab the other one. So I bought this a while back. This is Amigurami Treasures. And then almost immediately after I purchased this one came out for pre-order. And they had such cute patterns in here that I went ahead and pre-ordered this. And let's see if there's kind of an overview page of, yeah, here. So you can see there's the different patterns, and maybe we can switch to top down if it shows. No? Okay. So from there, and we'll change camera views, but you can see there's the different patterns sort of available in this book. So there's a bear, a bug, which I think is supposed to be butterfly, a dragon, I don't know, a mouse, a peacock maybe? I'm not sure what that thing is. A donkey. Donkey that's constructed pretty weird. It's all, like, you do all the legs all at once and then work it up. But let me see if there's, here's the donkey. Cover the pattern as per usual. But yeah, there's the donkey. I thought it was kind of cute. So if I hold still, change the picture there. So there's a little donkey, but you make all of the feet, and then you work in the round all the way up, which I thought was a unique construction. Most of the amigurumi I've ever made, you make a body and then you sew individual feet on, but this one you sort of turn into a continuous piece. But it's pretty cute. So anyway, I bought this. I haven't worked anything up out of it yet. But I like little books like this because there were a bunch of cute little patterns in there. I'll show this. I don't remember where I was at with this doll the last time I streamed. But I'm still not done with it. But I did move on to a new doll. This one needs a lot of sewing. So the arms still need to be sewn. I did sew in all of my ends. Her little boots turned out super cute. I don't think I was done with these the last time I streamed, but it's got these cute little boots with little white detail on the bottom, and they fit pretty well on her feet. But let's see if I can get them back on. Now that I said they fit well, there. Currently, her biggest problem is her head is very wobbly. So I'm going to have to probably go in with fine scissors and cut, because so she's got a whole neck, and then I pulled yarn through the top of her head and tightened her head onto her neck as two separate pieces, and then that way she can turn her head. But the problem is that I think the knot's already loosened up. So they suggested gluing it on. I don't really know that I want to glue it on, so I might have to come up with something. The easiest thing is probably to run the threads through and then put a button on the top of her head so that the threads can't pull back through the rest of her head. So I think what I did was tied it real tight and then tucked the tails in, and I think it's probably just loosened up since I've been carrying her around in my purse, or well, in her bag and in my purse. But anyway, I'm probably gonna have to cut her head back off and figure out a way to secure it better. The other thing is I've got all of her hair pinned down. I don't know if you can see all these pins in the back of her head here, but I've got her hair all pinned down, and the pins keep coming loose, and I keep getting randomly stabbed. So I stopped carrying her around, which meant I didn't really work on her, and I just need to sit down and sew all her hair on. So, almost done with this doll, but not quite there. So, I really wasn't. This was kind of a weird one. Like, I was just struggling for something, and I found this pattern, and I liked it well enough to start it, but I never was in love with it. I really have grown to like this doll more than I thought I was going to. So, anyway, that's this doll. And then, while I was avoiding sewing all that together, I started on this doll. And like I said, this one's modeled after a character. And I don't know how well I'll do mimicking her, but I'm going to give it a try. The big thing right now is that I want to get the hair right. And so I think we're going to show like a picture up on screen. And so there's the character I'm modeling this after. But you can see the very ends of her hair are kind of a bright pink at the very end, and then fade into sort of peach and then into her blonde hair. And so I really want to get that right. And I wasn't thrilled with how they were turning when I actually crocheted the different colors on the end. They just the curls weren't curling up anymore, and it was a lot of ends to sew in, which was causing it not to curl. And so we're gonna try dyeing them. So that's the goal for tonight. So I'm gonna clear this off, and then I will show you what I've got here. So I've got Rit dye in cherry red, and the reason I went with cherry red, well, two reasons. Joann Fabric had a big sale, which meant they were out of a lot of colors. And so what they had was petal pink and cherry red. And so my thought was the petal pink looks a little light to me. The cherry red is a little bit too red. There was a pink that belongs in the middle. But we're also dyeing over yellow. So all of these colors are going to turn out a little bit wrong anyway. Petal pink might be fine, but I was worried that it wasn't quite bright enough at the ends. So my thought was I can probably do a mix of the two, or I can probably do either of them and just see how it turns out. I'm a little afraid that everything's going to turn very orange. And I guess I could try bleaching it, but I'm not really sure how that's going to go because it's 40% polyester or 40% acrylic. RIT dye will dye cotton, linen, rayon, silk, wool, and nylon, but not acrylic. And it says, not recommended for synthetic fibers, fabric containing more than 35% polyester, acrylic, or acetate. So, we're at 40%. We'll see what happens. They didn't have any pink dye in the synthetic dyes. So RIT does make a synthetic dye, but they had like 3 colors. And I wanted to try the Dynalon, I think is the like powdered one, also out of pink. So I went with what they had. The other thing that I bought was this tulip color shot. It's like, I don't know, you're supposed to put a stencil down and you can like spray paint it on. And I don't know, I'm going to give this a shot, see how it is. It says it dries soft and bright. And it's quick dry. So this was neon pink. Again, sort of limited my color options. I don't know what's going to happen, but we'll see what happens. And then the last thing I bought, which I don't think is a great option for hair, but might still work really well for doing some detail work, are these fabric markers. So I'll see how they draw on the yarn. But sometimes a pattern calls for putting like a little bit of makeup on the finished product. For example, I think the little bunny that I made is supposed to have like rosy cheeks. And so I don't know how these will look, but I bought them because they were on sale and I wanted to see how they worked for yarn. So that's what we've got. I'm going to pick the pink marker out of here for now. And I realized that I didn't really want to test this on the like start of the wig that I made. So I've got some little chain pieces here and I can chain up some more if it's necessary. But I've got a few little pieces here. And then I boiled water before we started the stream. And the RIT dyes are call for 100%, 140 degree water. Ooh, excuse me. Or greater. So add hot water to a plastic bucket. Teaspoon of, I don't have dish liquid. Or salt. I didn't read this very far. Okay, hold on a second. Teaspoon of dish detergent. For best results, add a cup of salt for cotton, rayon, or linen. Add a cup of vinegar for nylon, silk, or wool. Add dye, mix well. We can probably skip those because I'm doing a cotton synthetic blend. I don't know. Maybe we should add some salt. And some dish detergent. I wonder if I have either of those back there. Got saline. Yeah, I might need you to go get some dish soap and salt, I guess. I was just gonna do them in these little clear plastic cups. I thought they might be easier to see. I also don't really want to do a whole bucket, so we're gonna just probably eyeball this, and it may or may not work. And then I guess I'm gonna open this up. I have no idea how bad this is gonna stink or how wide it's gonna spray, but I'm gonna put some paper towels down when I do it. Which may or may not work with the camera because the white might make the camera a little angry, but I'll remove it when I go to show it. I'm surprised how hazy this like packaging is. I thought it was just like the plastic around it, but it's kind of like a weird purpley color. It's not white like I would have expected on a can. Trying to get this sticky part out. I don't know why they put a sticky thing on the back of the package when it was a sealed package, but whatever. That could be. Okay, and then I've got some gloves so that I don't end up with totally pink hands. All right. Well, I'm gonna start with the color shot just because I need some dish soap and my husband's gonna run for it. And where did I put the paper towels? There they are. I don't want to overlap them here. There are instructions on this. Shake hand for a minute. Hold it from 6 to 8 inches. Apply light. Apply one light coat at a time, waiting 5 minutes between coats. That's a lot of time. Alright, so we'll lay one of these guys out. It's probably really obnoxious on stream. No? Okay. Alright. Doesn't have any markings or anything. Whoa. Well. I need to, like, pin that down or something. Interestingly, though, like, what's actually on the yarn is roughly the right color. Like, on the paper towel, it's too dark. But if I rotate this... not too terrible. Alright. I'm going to move the paper towels away for a second. See if you guys can see this, but it's not too bad. So it's maybe a little bit brighter. I could see if this comes in another color. This is neon pink. But if this came in a soft pink, it's probably not too far off. It'd be harder to... what's that? Yeah. Yeah, the bottom's not too far off. So it'd be kind of difficult to do this to the whole wig. I might just have to put it over a bowl and just kind of spritz the bottom and kind of not be too picky. But yeah, I think that worked surprisingly well. I'm going to pin it down this way and try and get the back side of this.
If it's like normal spray paint, you're not supposed to start or stop unless you're
Yeah.
So you should start sliding over it and then spray.
Okay. Not sure how to do that exactly. Try. Again, like the color that's actually on the yarn remaining is not bad. So it's a little intense for the doll that I'm making, but worked surprisingly well. So I'm gonna let that dry. Yeah, I saw that. I'm hoping I can get some of it up. Well, we'll see what happens. Okay. Moving on to, you know what? We're just gonna dye this. Yeah, if you want to run and get a little bit of soap, I'll get the hot water poured in here. Salt, I guess. I don't know. We're gonna find out. Hoping not. Water's probably still hot enough. Alright, am I supposed to pre-soak this? Pre-wash fabric to remove any finishes, every pound of fabric, blah, 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 blah. We're just going to do like a drip in here. It has to have enough water for the fabric to move freely to achieve darker, more intense color. Double the dye quantity. If dye into a lighter or different color, use RIT color remover to reduce existing color in most fabrics. Oh, we could have used RIT color remover, so maybe I'll try that if this doesn't go great. Add hot water to a plastic bucket, stainless steel sink, 140 degrees, teaspoon of dish liquid. Thank you. So we got some dish liquid and we've got some salt and fabric will look darker when wet and prior to washing. Rinse with cool water until rinse water begins to run clear. Wash in warm water with mild detergent by hand with an old towel. Okay, well, see what happens. So put a little bit of dish liquid in here. Val's asking, well, I wonder why the dye spray is aerosol instead of a pump. It's so forceful and hard to direct. I think their intent is that you're supposed to be using a stencil. And so, like, just to do, like, an image on a shirt or something. And so I guess they're probably thinking that it won't matter. But I would think overspray would be a big concern if you were actually going to try and stencil something. If the stencil was too small, it would be really easy to just get spray everywhere. And I think it's permanent and you're kind of just stuck with it. So it is a little bit on the forceful side. So, all right, I put a little bit of dish soap in there. It said a teaspoon in a whole bucket of water. So that's probably enough. And again, the same with the salt. I'm just going to sprinkle a little in. This is not going to be, I think it was supposed to be a cup in a bucket of water. So it was like a sprinkling. I don't know. We'll see what happens. Water is hot. Okay. And then dye in. Of course, it's got a little thingamajig. I don't know, that much, I guess. It's not a very scientific dye process here. And unfortunately, dye is one of those things that is very scientific. But we'll just do what we're doing here. Yeah. It did suggest to use RIT color remover if you have to dye something colored already, so I could try and find that. All right. I guess I'm just gonna, well, I really only want to dye half of the strand. So we're just gonna let that sit on that side. We're gonna let that one sit on that side. And what I'm hoping is if this works, what I would do is take the wig and put it on something, like pin it to something, and then just dip the ends and let the very, very tips of the ends get dark and let the water just kind of travel up. And then just end up with something that's...
Couldn't you just pull it out a bit and then leave it, pull it out more, leave it, pull it out more?
Yeah, could do it that way or let it wick up, either way. So these are starting to take some color. They're probably already a little more intense than I need them to be. So way too intense, I guess. So yeah, you can see there's my comparison picture. They're already a little bit darker than I need them to be. This one actually is closer than I would have thought. It did say that they were going to be darker prior to washing and to laundering. So I guess we could just be done with those. And I don't have cool water to rinse them, but I do have another cup that we can put a little bit extra dish soap in. Oop, that one went too far. No, it's okay. I'm just going to squeeze them out on a towel. And so even squeezed out, this one's a better color than it was just in the dye bath. But I can see everywhere I've touched the yellow up here has already got dye all over it. So this will have to be a very careful process. And then they're just squeezed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab another cup. And I'm going to put a little extra dish soap in. extra hot water. No, this is just for washing. Or hand laundering. Squeeze some of that out. You can see the water's getting pretty pink. I'm making a little bit of a mess. It's fine. That turned out pretty perfect, actually. I'm going to lay that one over there for a second. We'll launder this one. Getting even pinker. All right, get all these little cups out of the way. Okay. And so what I'm left with here is one that's relatively pink, but this one, I think, ends up being pretty perfect. Let me pull them up a little bit. Should I put them on a white paper towel? Would it be easier to see them? Huh? There, that might help. So this one got pretty dark pretty fast, but this one is pretty close to what I want. It's light pink at the end and kind of mid pink peach in the middle and blonde at the ends. So I think petal pink wins. I think I would mix a lot less color in the dye bath. So even though I only just put like a little, I don't know, bit in there, I I guess what I would do is make some more of these little chains and experiment and get the dye bath right and then dye the wig because I'm not going to do it twice. So that turned out much cooler than I expected. So I didn't actually expect it to take as well as it did. And I didn't really expect for it to be so even. I was pretty worried that it was going to be splotchy because it's 40% acrylic, and so I wasn't sure how the fibers were blended, but it looks like they are probably pretty well blended together, rather than being like different plies. So I think that turned out really well. All right, so the last thing that I've got to try, and I don't think I need the gloves, is this paint marker. And like I said, I don't expect this to be a very good option for doing all the hair. But I do expect that it might work for putting some detail onto the dolls and stuff. I can see the dye coming. Come on. It's like to right here on the tip. Seems to go better if I go up and down a bunch. Moving the table obnoxiously, though. Alright, we're finally there. Okay, where's my last little piece here? I do it on a paper towel so I don't color all over the table. But the general idea here would be to just paint it on. I guess turn this, paint the other side. Kind of get the edges here. Just sort of fade it up a little bit. Sorry. Let me turn this a little bit. My left hand, I think, is going to block too. Is that a little bit better? See a little bit better? I don't really like what it's doing to the surface. It's fuzzing it up pretty badly. Um, yeah, it's getting kind of felty. Sorry, I know my hand is blocking this, but I kind of gotta put some tension on it. Um, so yeah, it's felting it up. It looks very like dreadlocky. You can't really see the shapes of like the stitches anymore. But for a little bit of detail, it did a pretty decent job. So I think if you wanted to do something like an eyebrow or eyelashes or something that you didn't want to stitch on, I think it would work pretty well, especially on a flat fabric. On this chain, it kind of just fuzzed it up. I'm not sure how well you can see the surface of that, but it made it a little bit kind of yucky. However, the color portion did work. So I think it's a decent color, and I think it would probably work for this application. I just think it would be tedious and kind of annoying to do. So on one strand, it wasn't horrible, but again, this is going. Hold on, it's going on a whole wig. So I would have to do each individual strand, and all the bangs and all of the top pieces of her hair and everything. So, my guess is just dipping this into a dye bath and letting the ends get dark, and then whatever wicks up a little bit wicks up will give me the best, like most accurate picture of how she normally looks, and then also I think just be the simplest. I think what I would probably do is get a styrofoam ball and just pin this on and then just like dip it so that all the ends are touching um kind of evenly and they're all hanging the way they would around her head. So that's sort of my going thought right now. Um these are drying really cool though. So I'm actually pretty pleased with how this one's turning out. And this is the only method that gave me sort of that real hair transition right here, where it goes from pink, like clearly pink, to clearly blonde with like a fade in between. So it's got a nice ombre, or I think in actual hair they would call this balayage. This one just got too pink too quick. Mostly that's my fault because I dropped the bottom end of the strand in there. But it actually picked up dye in the bath too when I was rinsing it. Like the little end here has just gotten a little bit pink because this part did not get in the little dye bath. So yeah. Um, I'm pretty surprised at how little dye it took to get that intense color. Um, So this is roughly the what I'm thinking is I'll just take the strands of hair and let them dip and run up until the bottom's as dark as I want it to be, and the middle will just be kind of a little bit of color, and then the top will just remain blonde. And if I dip it too much, it'll start rushing up again. I don't kind of want to control that, but I think repeated short dips is the way to go here to get darker color on the bottom and that nice fade in between. So, but obviously this color is way darker and more intense. So I think it's just the wrong color. The other thing that I could try if I'm not hitting quite the right color is to mix them, but I think the petal pink is pretty perfect. So kind of lucked out there because I definitely would have bought the medium pink. But I think between the two here, even if I went in between, I still think I would prefer this one. I think that's really all I've got to show tonight. So this was what I really wanted to try out, and I was kind of excited that it was a good night to stream, and I had all of the stuff to do this, and uh, it just worked out that I could show this on stream and have kind of a little bit of fun exploring with you guys. This is the spray painted one. I wanted to see how it felt now that it's a little bit dry. It feels better than I would expect for something that's just been spray painted. It's a little bit raspier than just the regular uh sort of blonde yellow yarn, but this is actually a pretty good option if you could find a way to control it. Like Val mentioned earlier, if it were a pump instead of a spray, it would definitely be easier to control. But I don't know how well it would aerosolize, or if it would just gum up a spray. Like I'm picturing like a little pump hairspray. I don't know how well it would aerosolize through that because you got pieces like it's the little dye particles are in there. So, but it did a decent job. It was kind of difficult to control and a little bit difficult to put even application on, but it gave a similar color and somewhat similar effect. Unfortunately, though, most of the brightest or darkest pink here is in the middle, and it sort of fades this way and it fades this way. And it's probably just the way I held the can, but I don't know exactly how I would go about spraying the whole wig. Maybe if I could turn it like really fast or something, or just, I don't know, hold it really low and protect the top somehow. So I'm picturing holding it like this, covering here in some fashion, maybe a sock or something, and then spinning it and just focusing on the ends, and wherever the overspray hits would be sort of lightly covered. So theoretically, I think the spray could work. I think the dye will give me better results. So, next time I hope to have the wig all done and I can show you the results. I maybe will not be done with it till sometime next week, and maybe I'll just stream and do the dyeing live. We'll see how it goes. Might be terrible, but yeah, I think that might be kind of fun to do live. But again, depending on how my schedule works out and stuff, I don't know if we're gonna try and stream consistently on Thursday nights. I think I'll just post ahead of time and schedule the stream and just stream when it's convenient, because I feel bad that I'm not streaming regularly, but Thursdays for whatever reason just seem to be busy, and I am absolutely positive that if I just switch it back to Tuesdays like it used to be, then Tuesdays will be super busy. So it's just been a kind of a busy time. Work has been very busy, and so and it's summer, and there's weddings to go to and places to be and all that stuff. So I really do want to get back to streaming more. I miss kind of hanging out with you guys. So that's the goal, is just look for scheduled streams. You should get emails if you're subscribed. If you are not getting emails, try clicking the little bell and or the little drop down next to the bell and changing it to, is it all instead of personalized, I think. So you could give that a shot. But yeah, otherwise I guess now would be when I like ask if you guys have any questions. So what have you been up to? What have you been crocheting? Or what other things have you been trying? So the other thing that I've done in the last few weeks is canning a whole bunch of jam. We have wild black raspberries growing in our backyard, and so right around the 4th of July, those ripen. And this year it was 4th of July weekend. We spent, I don't know, 2 days out picking black raspberries. If I had to guess, we pulled in something like a gallon of black raspberries, which is not an insane amount, but it's pretty good for just a little patch in the backyard. And so I turned that into black raspberry vanilla jam and black raspberry pear jam and a mixed berry jam. And then for 4th of July, all the grocery stores around here had fruit on sale. And so I bought peaches and nectarines and apricots and cherries and all sorts of things. and made a whole bunch of jam. I don't can how do I say this? What I make is freezer jam. So I don't can sterile. So I don't boil the cans and can them under sterile conditions. I just take clean jars and pour the hot jam into them and then freeze them. So that way you don't have to worry about canning improperly and all that stuff. And they're good in the fridge for like, I don't know, a couple of days or maybe a week. And they're good in the freezer for like 2 years. So that's what I did. And a couple of years back when I made jam, I had a friend slash coworker at work, and she was allergic to apples, which also meant that we couldn't use, well, she couldn't have commercial pectin because it comes mostly from apple source. So I made all of my jams without pectin, and that makes them a little bit runny and a little bit softer, but you're mostly just spreading it on toast, and I don't really need it to be like firm. In fact, I prefer that it's not because I usually just make like thin white bread toast. And if you've got like a really thick, strong jam, it usually like rips a hole in the bread and stuff. So I just went ahead and made them again this year with no pectin, except for one strawberry jam. I gave it a try just to see how it was, and it firmed up really well, but it kind of looked weird. It was like a little bit hazy. I wasn't thrilled with how it looked. The ones where you don't put any pectin in are just really clear and again, like I said, kind of thin. They're a little bit closer to a sauce. They remind me a lot of whole berry cranberry sauce. So where it's not quite a gel and it's not quite a traditional sauce, they're kind of in between. So Val said, I was going to ask if it was freezer jam. My grandma used to do strawberry. Yeah, so I did, it was freezer jam, and yeah, I did all kinds of weird flavors. I think I ended up with 16 different flavors. Actually, it was 17 because I burned one really badly. We tried smoking some of the fruit on our smoker. That was kind of fun. The jams that it made were really weird. The smoked plum seemed like it was going to be really good. That was the one I burnt. And it burnt really bad. It smelled like burnt marshmallows, and it took me forever to clean the pan. That one was really bad. But the only flavor that really, really didn't turn out at all was a dark chocolate cherry one that I made. So I took fresh cherries and I worked in a little bit of cocoa powder, a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of espresso powder, and I think I burnt the chocolate. It takes a while to get jam to start to goo up if you don't use pectin. And yeah, it didn't turn out well at all. That one was an utter failure. And those jars I'm just gonna dump out and reuse the jars later. I think the hands down best one was a recipe I found called Drunken Monkey, which I was calling Bananas Foster because I didn't really care for that name. But I mean, it's kind of cute, but it just wasn't what I wanted to label them. So, but it used sort of overripe bananas and cinnamon, sugar, brown sugar. Basically would be an alternative to banana bread. Possibly the best alternative to banana bread I've ever had. So I love banana bread, but this was fantastic. So I think I made like 10 jars of it, and I hope that every time that I have extra bananas, I make that. It was just really, really good. But if you've ever had Bananas Foster, it's cooked bananas, and you put alcohol and sugar on them, and then they usually light the alcohol on fire and caramelize the sugar. And so this had sort of the same flair to it. It did have rum in it, but you boil most of the alcohol off while you're cooking uh, the bananas down into sort of a sludge is not a very nice word, but uh, paste, I guess, is the best word. It's not really jelly. It's not clear and it doesn't really gel up. It's just like this thick banana goo, which is really, really good on toast. So, that's about all I've been working on. So, between work and canning a whole bunch of jams, I traveled for a week. Just spent some time in southwestern Missouri, just hanging out, and yeah, that's about it. So it looks like Val said she's been crocheting a shawl, and she said, "What's up with pectin? It never works." I really like the Sure Gel. I think it's the low sugar variety. I don't know why, but it seems like everybody puts so much sugar into jam, and I do not. I all the recipes I was looking at for like every cup of fruit, you put a whole cup of sugar in, and that just felt like an absurd amount of sugar. So, because I don't use pectin, and because I use quite a lot of lemon juice when I do it, I can just put whatever amount of sugar in there I really want, and so my jam tends to taste a bit more like fruit and doesn't have quite as much sugar. And I think I run a little less risk of burning it to the bottom. But I don't know what I'm doing really. But my jams seem to turn out pretty well, and people seem to like them at work. So uh, I guess to each their own. But I use, if I use pectin, I use the low sugar variety because I just don't want to put that much sugar in with the fruit. I think it's just too much. So maybe if you haven't tried that one, I think it's the one that comes in the little pink boxes. If you haven't tried that one, um, that might give you a little bit more success. That's the one that I've tried, and it seems to work for me anyway. Um, the best way though that I've found to use it is I think they call for like bringing the water up to a boil and then dissolving the pectin in and then putting the fruit in. Usually, what I do is I throw all the fruit in the pan, all whole, except pitted if it is a stone fruit. Throw all that in, pour the sugar on top, throw at least 3 tablespoons of lemon juice in there. Um, and then if you're putting pectin in, just throw the pectin in then, and then start heating it up. And the sugar and the fruit will start like oozing liquid as you just stir it for, and you kind of have to stir it constantly for the first few minutes until there's enough liquid. And sort of all of a sudden, it'll get foamy and liquidy. And then you just leave it cook for a while over sort of medium heat, and it boils and it produces like a foam on the top, and you can scrape the foam off. But after a certain point, the fruit is you like it's close enough to if you had a potato masher, you think it would like mash up really nice. Um, that point, I usually use an immersion blender. Sometimes I just use a potato masher. Depends kind of on the fruit. I also leave all the skins on all of my fruit. With the immersion blender, it just beats them all up, and I like the fiber and all the texture that it gives, but I don't mind seeds or skins or anything in my fruit. I mostly what I want on my bread is just mashed up fruit. So that's kind of what my jams are. On the nectarines and the peaches, the leaving the skin on gives it a really, really pretty pink color. So I really like that as well. But yeah, I leave all the skins on everything, and I just use the immersion blender and blend it all up. And then I keep little plates in the freezer while I'm making jam. And as you think that the jam is getting close to where it's done, and usually, like when you scrape it off the bottom, it's kind of goopy. If it's too liquidy, it won't set up at all. But once it starts to get kind of goopy, I take the little plate out and I drizzle some on there, and it cools it really quickly. And then you can tell roughly what the texture is going to be like when it's done. And so from there, that's it. Once I decide that it's done enough, I just ladle it out into the little jars. And I really like the little 4-ounce ball jars. They're like this big around. And I bought, like, in the aisle with all the canning stuff, sometimes they have funnels that fit perfectly into the jars. Those are absolutely necessary. So, uh, it's like my favorite thing. And a little tiny ladle. I don't remember where I bought this. It's like a little Oneida ladle. But it's just this little bitty. It's almost like a ice cream scoop, but on a ladle. It's about that big around, and that was like the perfect size. And so I just ladled it out into all the jars, and that part went really quickly. And then the best advice I can give you if you're going to try this is once the pan is done, get it into hot soapy water as fast as you can. Because once it starts to like set on the pan and the pan begins to cool off, then you've got to scrape jelly off of everything. So I strongly recommend getting it rinsed down with hot soapy water as fast as you can. And then I just do that over and over and over again. So that's sort of my procedure. I know that was kind of a lot of information all at once, but mostly my advice is if you're going to try it, just try it. It's just, I like to experiment with flavors. I did a bunch of weird ones. You can just do, you can do regular, like, I could have done just plain black raspberry and it probably would have made a very nice jam, but I can just go to the store and buy black raspberry. What I can't go to the store and buy is whiskey smoked peach jam or peach cobbler. I'm trying to think of what some of the other ones that I made. I made a strawberry lime basil one. That was very weird. I made a stone fruit medley one, which was peaches, nectarines, plums, and apricots. That one was fantastic. I made a nectarine habanero. Normally you can get mango habanero, but nectarine habanero was kind of a unique one. Which I think my father-in-law uses on shrimp, and I think he like broils it on there and really likes that. So yeah, I think I did a cherry almond one. Oh yeah, the raspberry pear, which I was calling raspberry. Yeah, nectarine blueberry. I'm trying to think what else I did. I did, like I said, I did 17 different flavors, of which 15 are frozen. One I burned, and one was terrible. So, but yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. But it does take a long time, much longer than I planned for or ever think it's going to. So, and I kind of overbought the fruit. I don't really know why. There's no, like, not that difficult to do. It's just you throw a pan on the stove and boil some fruit for a while. And uh like you could just do it on any random day of the week, but for some reason I make a big event out of canning and bought all the fruit and just spent hours and hours canning. Val says I think I sense another career. It's actually kind of funny. I took all of the jams to work and I had graham crackers and pretzel sticks and stuff and people were eating them and my direct supervisor was in and like eating and he was like, these are really good. And at one point he ate one that he must have really, really liked and he turned and he looked at me. He's like, why do you even work here? And sort of indicating like I should just quit and go sell jam. But it was just kind of funny for like my boss to be like, why do you work here? So, have I ever made tomato jelly? I have not. The weirdest one or like most vegetable-y ones I've done have had peppers in them, but I haven't tried tomato. I don't know what I would do with tomato jelly. And do you put sugar in it? Like I'm not clear on the rules on like weird. Somebody asked me if I have ever made a bacon jelly, and I was like, I don't know how to jelly bacon. Like what do you do to make it jelly? Like, I know it's a thing that people do. I just don't get it. So, I'm not opposed to trying it if I knew what I would do with the tomato jelly. Because I do like tomatoes, but I don't think I want it in jelly form for anything I can think of. But a bunch of the smoked fruit ones, they were very weird, but I think they're going to be very, very good on meat. So, like, smoked whiskey peach on some pork chops, I think is going to be fantastic. So, I'm looking forward to trying some of that out. But enough on gym. I guess I might wrap up for the evening. But this was a lot of fun. I had fun dyeing and playing with the yarns. I think I've got a decided on method, which is going to be the petal peach, maybe just slightly less dye in the bath, and dip dye the whole character's wig. So, interesting. She said it's sweet like mild cherry or plum. I'm actually really curious now. I might give it a shot. I have a tendency to buy too many tomatoes, so maybe I'll try it the next time I've got extra tomatoes before they go bad. That's also kind of the other nice thing about jams is the fruit does not need to be in great condition. In fact, if it's a little overripe and maybe a little bit bruised, it turns into jelly just fine. So if you've got a particularly bad spot, you can cut it out. But the peaches that I was using were a little bit overripe and a little bit bruised, and they're absolutely delicious. And they didn't have to look nice once you blend them up. So as long as there's not actual like bad spots like buggy or something, then it's perfectly fine to use kind of old fruit. Or maybe a little overripe fruit. So, but yeah. All right. Well, thank you all for joining me, and have a great rest of your week. Hopefully, I will see you all again soon. Keep an eye out for a like a notice that we've scheduled a stream. I'll still aim to try and do things on Thursdays, but I might start streaming on more random days, so that I'm not missing quite so many. I don't like to go, I don't know how many weeks it's been, 6 weeks or something. So, Val said I've inspired her to try some spicy peach. Yeah, try all different kinds of things, especially if you've got like random stuff left over. Fruit goes with fruit pretty well. So just like, I don't know, I made nectarine peach and I mixed all different kinds of things. The weirdest advice is that lemon juice apparently works much better than fresh lemons. Because the pH is more balanced in the like manufacturing process, and I guess lemons can kind of vary wildly in acidity. So that's the weirdest advice I got off that. But if you're not going to use pectin, lemon juice is like mandatory, because a lot of fruits don't have very much pectin in them on their own, but lemon juice does, and it will help gel up your jelly, and it balances, I think, some of the sweetness too. Experiment with alcohol too. A bunch of different alcohols go really well with fruit. So I used rum and cherry brandy and whiskey, all with different fruits. And so a lot of different alcohols go well. And extracts like vanilla and almond extract I used as well. So, all right, that's enough on jam. Hopefully we'll talk more crochet next time, and try and dye some doll hair. So have a great rest of your week, and have a great weekend. See you soon. Bye.